Hey there, adventurers. I'm Norwolf. Welcome to my role-playing game Realm and to session 22 of my Powers and Perils solo play. So when last we left our intrepid adventurers, Gildor, Raffin, Marizan, and Kina, the new hobbit addition to the team, or halfling, I guess, depending what you want to call them, had spent the last week at Lendrin's Tower doing some training and taking some well-deserved rest. There was one event that occurred during that week, and that was towards the end of it. Group went out early in the morning after the scouts had seen a pair of thatch, which are basically 30-foot tall giants, south of the town area. And basically these things were heading straight for this town. And so Lendrin basically took Gildor, Raff, and Marizan. They left Kina behind and headed out to intercept these things and take them out, which they successfully did. At that same time, I tried using the optional size factor rules for damage reduction against large opponents, and I have to say that I wasn't very keen on the rules. They seemed a little bit lopsided, and it seemed like a bit of a kludge to me. Anyways, basically, they were something that Richard Snyder had put out some years back. I'm not exactly sure when. And I had never tried them before. I'd had them sitting around for a while. And like I said, I probably won't be using them in the future. At least not for my solo play. It seemed to drag the combat out a little bit too long. So, anyways, let's see. But from that combat, they did get, there it is, various experience. Gildor basically didn't do much damage at all to these things. He did all of 4 points, so he got 28 combat experience points, 1 characteristic, and 14 expertise with a scimitar. Raffin had done 24 hit points of damage to these guys, ended up with 168 combat experience points, 4 characteristics, and 14 expertise in his bastard sword. Marizan and Lendrin both did roughly the same, 66 versus 67. So Marizan got 462 combat experience, 10 characteristics, but 3 into strength, 3 into stamina, 2 into intelligence, and 2 into empathy. I didn't actually write down what the other guys put their points into. And 14 expertise in both her broadsword and her heater shield. And Raffin did manage to break his bastard sword during that fight. So they spent another, another 5 days there afterwards, doing additional training. Raffin was working on learning armor, so while the armor was repairing his sword, he was also participating, at least learning, if not actively helping. And they repaired his bastard sword. They did some repairs on Marizan's broadsword. And actually, it was Marizan that did her repairs on her chainmail and her bastard sword. I probably should say broadsword or bastard sword. Anyways, she repaired her sword. And let's see, what else here? Took 5 days to repair the bastard sword of Raffin's. 2.5 days for the broadsword. Oh, so this was her bastard sword. So one of the other armorers in this area that spent the 2.5 days repairing her broadsword. And they fixed the couple of points damage on Raffin's plate mail as well during that time. So there's no other events during those 5 days. And I had pulled up the various weather for those days as well. So their weather table is up to date. And basically, as they finish off their day on the 11th, they're sitting down for their evening meal with Lendrin. He pulls out a little dispatch that he's received sometime during the day and basically says, "It looks like Crystal Shores is having some issues with some lizard men. They occasionally come into the area to visit one of their old shrines or temples and usually don't cause any problems. and then head off back to wherever they normally reside. But this time something's a little bit different, and there's potentially two different factions of lizardmen that are at odds with each other. It could be the same tribe, but there's something going on there. So the Council of Crystal Shores has sent notice to the king, asking for some sort of assistance, which he's sent over here, and so you guys have your next bit of work to do. So if we look at where Crystal Shores is compared to these guys, right now we're down here in the tower, so they'll be traveling back up this way through Greenwick and through Cloverlass, probably following the river northwards, breaking away from the treed section and kind of heading up, going cross country up to Crystal Shores. It's probably roughly the same amount of time to travel the roads to get there, but I figured some cross country would be potentially a little bit more interesting than the civilized roads. So we will basically, they'll prepare to gather up, pack up their items, reprovision themselves with Lendrin's staff's assistance, and be ready to saddle up and head out in the morning with all their gear and horses and all the rest of that stuff. The two horsemen are still with them. They've basically spent the week here as well, just participating or helping out with the patrols and things for the guard that are here. And that was, there they are, Glyn and Ellen. Glyn and Ellen. They will be continuing on with our merry, I guess it's no longer a trio, the foursome here. And out the next morning. All right, so our characters head out on the morning of July 12th, and it is a cloudy day with a breeze. So let's see, we will go through our checklist here. We don't have to worry about the scale gains and food point used for the previous day. Current day weather we've already rolled. Any managed regen, healing, and spellcasting we don't have to worry about. We do know that on, what day was that? On the 14th, you have to worry about knowledge for both Gildor and Kina. So, what else? These guys will start heading north. Basically, they can travel to get to through the forest hexes here. It's 3 miles per hex going through forest. Or sorry, 3 movement per mile to get through the forest. And each forest hex these hexes are 5 miles. So it takes roughly 15 movement. They are following a trail, which reduces their movement, the cost of the movement by 25%. So they can, each hex is basically taking them 11.25 movement. So they kind of push it that day and get to the road. I think in my previous travel where I had them make it to the waypoint inn here, was probably a little bit too generous. So they get to the road, and I'm thinking that inn probably should have been built here rather than over here, but oh well, it is what it is. So they'll camp just off to the side of the road here for that night. So let's roll for their encounters. And of course, what I'm using here is the screen from, or one of the pages from the encounter screen that can be found in the Book of Tables. I will probably do a review or a bit of a deep dive or a dive into the Book of Tables sometime in the next 1 or 2 videos here. So our Forced encounters are basically 25% chance during the day and night. Just varies whether it's creatures or humans. So that day, we have a 7, which is going to be a creature encounter. And if I look at the forest table, so forced encounter during the day, die 2, so basically even odd. Probably the easiest way to look at that. 1 to 3, it's going to be AA, which it is, and the encounter is going to be a 74. Lankara. No idea what that is. Let me pause here and see whether or not that's going to happen. All right, the Blankara are, let's see, appearance. The male Blankara is a heavily muscled lion with claws of white gold and a long, beautiful mane. Claws are sharp, massive, and powerful. Females are smaller, more active, and deadly. They do not have the sacred mane of the gold or gold claws of the male. They understand the tongue of Ashur. They are spoken to in that tongue. They will not attack. Basically, these things are law-aligned. They will attack creatures of chaos with uncontrollable battle fury. I'm going to say they basically saw these off in the distance in the forest, and they've essentially ignored each other. So, all right, so that is that day. That night, again, 25% chance, and no encounters that night. So that is the 12th. So, the next day, the 13th. Start with our previous day skill gains, 1 horsemanship, 1 for survival, and 1 carrying. Food used. They add Akina to list. She uses 1 food point per day, so our total food point per day usage is 13.5. That includes our 2 horsemen, our cavalry guys. Horses themselves are using, actually I forgot to add 1 more horse here. Be 6. And this should be 18. 26 and a half is 13 points when they're allowed to graze, or there is somewhere to graze during the day. And traveling through the forest and plains, generally speaking, I say they can do some grazing. I'll update all the food usage at the end of the trip, probably before the next video. All right, let's see, next thing, weather. Good day's weather. So 2d6. We are cloudy with a breeze. We're in July. We are going 7 straight down. So we are going to a cloudy day with no breeze. We move to here. It's cloudy. And no mana regen, no natural healing, no spell casting on the 13th. And they continue on their merry way. So on this day, traveling down the road is going to cost them 1 hex of forest. That will cost 7.5, and then the other remaining hexes through Greenwick as they pass through, and the others are all 2.5 movement each, totaling 17.5 to get the Cloverlass. And in Cloverlass, I think I have a town map here. I do. Ignore the city of Washtown, but I'll have to get the source of this map. Oh, Reclusive Cartographer. There we go. I'll put a link to the Patreon site for this map, but they basically find an inn for the night, probably just a good inn rather than a cheap or a fine inn. And when we look at the cost, good inn, 3 copper per person and 6 brass bits for their meals. That's going to be, let's see, there's 6 of them now, so 36 copper coins. And, or sorry, 18 copper coins and 36 brass bits. And with some tips and whatever else thrown in, we'll just call that 25 copper coins, or 2 silver and 5 copper. And I'll again knock that off of their it's the party treasure that they're keeping. That day, do we have any encounters before they get to Cloverlass? And we have an 88, so no encounter during the day. I'm not going to say there's no encounters while they're staying at the inn that night. And the next day, they are back on the road. Except before they head out, well, that's, again, previous day gains. They're going to have 1 horsemanship. Give them 1 forest, 1 plains as they go through from forest to plains, and 1 carrying. Being kind of generous there. Food points I'll look for, of course, to deduct afterwards. Current day weather. We are on the cloudy day here. Let's clean up the previous one. And roll our 2d6 on the table here and see where we end up. We're going 7 again, straight down. Can't go down, so they stay on the same hex here. It's another just cloudy day. But before they head out, let's do some knowledge spells, starting with Gildor. So Gildor, he's to cast his Purification Elder. He's got EL 0 in that. He doesn't have a supernatural language to use with it, so he's basically rolling straight on the, again, MEL 5, so it's on the right sheet here. He's on the line 5, which basically means he's got a 50% chance of success. 91, that's not good. 91 is a failure, but not an abysmal. 96 is an abysmal. So that's 2 mana used. Going to try again. 56. That fails again, so that's 2 more mana. Let's keep track of that. So again, the Purification has a base mana cost of 2. Base mana cost 2, spell being cast at EL 0 is 2 mana points. And 3 failures. That one finally succeeds. So 4 attempts. That's going to cost him 8 mana. And I'll have to double check whether you get partial successes or not, which is within 25%. That would have been at least 2 of those. But for the Purification, that gives him 4 expertise points in Purification. And again, that's the expertise is base mana cost times 2, so 2 times 2 is 4. And he will get EL 0 plus 2, so 4 magic experience points for casting that as well. That's plus 4. Now, the actual knowledge spell, again, he's got EL 1, which means he's subtracting 2 times EL from his roll, but he's casting it on himself, so he's subtracting 17 as well. So minus 19 to his roll, and that's going to be a success. And again, at knowledge being base mana cost 5, that EL 1 is going to be 7 mana. So that's another, except this one he's going to use off of his mana storage device. So if we remember last time, Lendrin gave him a 50 mana storage device that regains 5 mana per day. So he will use the 7 off there. And I think I've got a handy sheet here for that somewhere. So let's see, Gildor used 8 here, and 7 here. Oh, and just a note, we have Gilder, Raffin, Merzan, Kina. Ignore these, the other two here. That's a bit of foreshadowing. And it's basically a quick reference page that I have for the different characters. I can track damage that they've taken, mana that they've used, that sort of thing. So, anyways, on to, oh, and then of course he gets a die 6 plus 1, which he is going to be using on, oh, hang on. So knowledge, he gets plus 10, and that also gives him ill plus 2 times 5, so 15 magic experience points. And that actually gives him one characteristic. He's going to put on intelligence, so 47. And that takes care of Gildor. Kina. She's actually got a language that works with her purification, and that is her Tongue of Hecate, which she has EL 60. So she's going to cast her purification at EL 1, or attempt to. We're going to use her language. That fails her language, which means she will actually try again. So again, her language, 59. That succeeds. It's a 60. So now she will attempt to cast her purification spell at EL 1. So she's subtracting 2 and her MDV, which is 22. So 24 from her roll. And that's a failure. She's MEL 3. So she needs to roll less than 44 or less. That's base mana cost 2. That's 4 mana that cost her that first attempt. Okay, so she's trying her language again. 9, language works. And the spell. With her minus 20 something or other, that's going to work. So that costs her a total of, let's say, 4. 4, so 8 mana. And she gains base mana cost times 2, so 4 expertise in purification. Now she's going to cast her knowledge spell, which she doesn't have a language for. That's going to be at EL 0. She's subtracting, actually, oh yeah, she's actually subtracting at EL 1. Purification actually gives her a bonus. I believe it's either 1 or 2%. Purification, EL plus 1, so 2 times 2, 4%. So subtracting 4 from her roll. She's got 0 knowledge, so 4 and her casting knowledge on herself. Actually, that purification, sorry, wasn't on herself, so she wouldn't have had that extra minus 22. But anyways, so she got minus 26 on this roll. And that's going to succeed. So she's getting 2 times the base mana cost for expertise. It is costing her 5 mana, which she's going to use off of her mana storage device. So she's used 8 here and 5 here. She's getting 10 expertise, and what did she get for her purification? 3, 6. So plus 16 total. And this plus 16 plus 6 is from the healing spells that she cast after the team fought the Athach. That takes care of her. And of course, I didn't actually roll the knowledge gains for these guys. Mandarin currently has 38 expertise towards learning Tongue and Valen. He is going to get 7. Wow. He's going to get a total of 45. He'll be at 45. And he's getting a d6 plus the EL of knowledge, so 1. And Kina is getting just a d6 because it's EL 0, and she's putting that towards Tongue of the Giant. Currently has 26 there. 26, and it's going to be 31. So 5 points. All right, so that takes care of her. That's the knowledges that morning. So they head out. And let's see, where do they get to? So they are now following the river. So this first hex, basically, so they'll be able to get to, going to be 5-mile hexes. They'll be able to go basically 5 miles, total of 20. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Be able to get to there at the end of the day. So I actually am going to use, aside from the random encounter rolls, I'm going to use the filling in the blanks again. Except I'm only going to roll once per hex, as they're not doing the kind of the hex exploration. They'll basically find one of the particular features of that overall hex. And I'll just roll on table 1.2 here for the alternate feature table. And that is a die 20 roll. So this first hex has an 11, which is a layer of some sort. And for the layer, I'm going to take a quick look at the lanes encounter and essentially decide whether or not there's something here that makes sense for this particular feature. So let's see, we have a 76. Either Hippogriff or a Tona. Hippogriff probably makes sense. So we actually have an encounter. Well, we have a Hippogriff lair, so a nest or something. I think these guys are... Do we want to deal with a Hippogriff nest? Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Horses are pretty important to the kingdom here. So let's find out a little bit more about these Hippogriffs. Right, Hippogriff. Alright, Hippogriffs have the head and wings of an eagle and body of a horse. Griffins sire them on horses. They are sterile unless magically modified. And typically there's 2d6 of them. Hippogriffs dine on horses and men. They attack at any opportunity. If captured, they can be trained. Blah blah blah. All right. Assuming that these hippogriffs are likely going to notice our traveling group here. 2d6. That is going to be 9 of them. Wow. Okay. Let's see what we can do with 9 hippogriffs. So we're going to fill out the stats here and be back shortly. Okay, we have our stats for the hippogriffs. They're OCV 5, or offensive combat value 5, defensive combat value 5, or 9 when they're flying. Natural weapon index is 0, so no modification to their attack rolls. Swing bonus was 0. Stamina bonus of +1, Dex bonus of 0, Agility bonus of +1, Constitution bonus +1. Movement rate. So on the ground they're moving 20. So 5555 for the phase movement rates. Or 36 when they're flying. So 9999. So pretty fast. No natural armor value. They have a damage tolerance value -3. Not starred, so they at 0 they'll actually fall unconscious. And a magic defense value of 3. And energy level 38 should that come into play. They all have 18 hit points. Their hit point value is 18. And hopefully that's enough space for all the damage and things like that to them. And of course, there's our picture of the Hippogriff. I've laid this out. There's roughly 150 to 160 feet between our frontline folks here and the Hippogriffs. Yeah, so let's get into our combat. Starting with phase 1, we have, of course, our usual phase sequence, mana allocation, then missile fire, then magic effect, and then movement and melee. And let's start with mana allocation. I don't think there's any mana being allocated in this first phase. And missile fire, I think everybody's going to be firing off their bows here. Let's see what that does. I'm just going to start with Gildor. Gildor's using his longbow. Although he does have a magic bow. And Gildor, the closest is 165, so 170 feet. That's going to be long range regardless. I think he's probably, at the distances, he's probably going to use his longbow just because he's got a better chance of hitting than he does with the bow. So on the -10 line, he is subtracting 5 from his roll, longbow. That's going to be, and he is -10 line. He needs a 30 or less. 34 less 5. That's going to be shield hit, which is a regular hit. And on a regular hit, he does a d6 +1. Ooh, 7 points. No natural armor value, so they number is this? That is number 4. Number 4 takes 7 points. Gilder with the bow. That leaves 11. Okay, next up we have Raffin. Who actually let's go to Kina. He's going to be shooting at that same one. Kina at this one. He's shooting at 160 feet. Same diff, I guess. So 160 feet with her composite bow is going to be long range on the -14 line. And she has a longbow skill, or composite bow skill of 0. Whoops. -14 line. He needs a 22 or less. Oh, and of course, I'm not showing the dice tray. 22. That's an exact hit. Nice. So Kina does die 6 + 0. So she does 4 points of damage. We're down to 7. Go to Raffin. Raffin with the longbow. Quite certain he's going to be very similar. Raffin is targeting that same griffin that everybody else is. There you go. 160 feet as well. So he is on the -10 line. And with the longbow, he's subtracting 5. And he needs a 30 or less. Oh, 4 minus 5, it's going to be a -1, so that's a severe hit. And he is going to do D10 plus 4 on a severe hit. D10 plus 4. 8 points. And that's going to put him at -1 and basically take him out of the battle. Cool. Marginally easier. And last but not least, we've got Marizan. He is okay, Marizan, she's probably going to be at that 160 plus range as well. So she's on the -10 line. She has a longbow skill of 7, so she's subtracting 7 from her roll. He's going to fire at this guy. 5. And -7 on the 10 line. So 13, that's going to be a hit. And she is doing a d6 plus 1. Ooh, 7 points of damage. 7 points of damage to number 6. We're down to 11. And that's it for the missile fire. And now we get into movement. As all of our characters shot, we'll only have these guys moving. They are flying this first phase and probably landing at the end of it. Let's start with this guy here. You can fly 90 feet. There. Feet. Of course, you can't see these guys over here. Basically doing the same thing. Oops. I put them back in the right place. Great. Zoom in a little bit here. All right, next phase. Let's see, these guys are 70 feet away. I think they are going to, the Hippogriffs are probably going to fly again this round for this phase, which means they will be on top of our guys. So our guys need to figure out what they're doing. Next phase, phase 2. We have mana allocation. Actually, I think both Lendrin and Ina are going to be doing mana allocation. Lendrin is working on a Sonic Blast. Base mana costs 3. Gildor. Saying Lendrin. Lendrin's my old character. Gildor. He's going to do Sonic Blast. Trumpet. No, Sonic Trumpet. Yeah, Sonic Trumpet. And it costs 4. Damage is D6 plus EL, which isn't great, but it also has a chance to stun based on the same stats as Sonic Blast. Sonic Blast basically a single target, and Sonic Trumpet is a 60-degree arc, similar to the Fireball 60-degree arc. Basically, if I remember correctly, that's basically EL1, EL0, EL1, something like that. The range, EL plus 1 times 2, EL0, and those are 2-inch or 1-inch hexes in samples here. E&P tends to use 1-inch hexes rather than, or 10-foot hexes rather than 5-foot hexes. Okay. Now, if he's going to be casting, that's an EL4, or sorry, base mana costs 4. He's got a language for it. He's going to try to use the language. Language is number 1, which is the Sid at 80. Dean succeeds, so he's casting it at EL1. So base mana costs 4. EL1 is going to cost 6. Because he's using the language, it reduces that by 20%, so 5. And he is gathering 3 mana per phase, so it won't go off this phase, but it will go off the following phase. Ina is going to... He's looking at casting one of her ball powers, ball fire. Base mana costs 5. Gathers 2 per phase. Mana costs 5, so that'll be on the 3rd phase that it'll go off. Assuming that works, that'll be handy. Alright, no missile fire, no magic effect yet, and movement. And they basically swoop in and hit the ground. They will be attacking the back, so I can see the miniatures out front. This guy, that. And move him to the back. Guy. And he will land there. 1. He will also land. Right. Close enough anyways. And of course they've all now landed. And we have our first bit of fighting. So Raffin will step up to there, and the two of them will attack number 6. And guys, as I said, are OCV 5. So their attack priority is going to be 9, so they're actually pretty slow. And all of our guys are 4s and 5s based on their magical weapons and things like that, or even just a non-magical weapon. Typically they've got heavy swords or axes, so that's going to be 7. So typically, I think the only one that has a lighter sword is Ina. She's gathering mana right now anyways. Okay. Now, Marizan has a attack priority 4. Raffin is attack priority 5. So Marizan's going to go first. He has a, let's see, your bastard broadsword that she's attacking with. Heal 8. She's subtracting 8 and 6. 14 and 5 for the two of them attacking. So she's subtracting 19. She is OCV 11 versus these guys flew in on this round, so they are 9 for this, just this round. That's going to be on the +2 line. Minus 19 on the +2 line. What does she do? Okay, minus 19 on the +2. That's going to be a severe hit. And on a severe, she is doing a D10 plus 10. 16 points. Which is 16 to number 6. Well, that's the one that was wounded before. Well, that's interesting. So 16, it only had 14 left. So she does actually 14. Mirzan with broadsword. And he is dead. Great. Raffin is there. I guess he can take a swing just because. Also get in on that last 11 points. 5. He is subtracting 8 and 4, 12 and 5, 17 on the +2 line as well. And that's going to be a shield hit, which is a hit. So he's going to at least get in for D6 plus 5. So 9 points. And minus 9. Raffin with his bastard sword. Alright. Those guys now get to attack. Actually, let's get rid of this dead one. He'll probably take up some space on the ground, but I don't want to be fighting with tokens. And the only one attacking is number... What number is this? Number 5. He's attacking Marizan. Marizan has a DCV of 11. His OCV 5. Puts him on the -6 line. And he is adding 5 and 2, so 7 to his roll. No minuses. And that's going to be a miss. Right, next round. Mana location. Gildor gathers another 3 and is able to cast a spell. He will be casting it such that it's just catching this one Hippogriff. Let's see. Casting it EL1, so that's subtracting 2. but adding 3, so he's at +1 on the builder is +1 on the 5 line, so he needs a 49 or less. 15 is going to be a 16, so it's going to work. Right. So the spell is going to do d6 +1 for damage. 5 points of damage to number 5. And let's see, according to this, to stun, his MEL plus EL, so 6, EL 6 is the OCV on the combat table. So he's on the +1 line. If this works, he will be stunned for 2 phases. +1 line. He needs to get a 52 or less. 51. That would be stunned. Number 5 is great. And that's the magic effect. And now for movement and melee. So all of these guys are swooping in. This guy is stunned. Let's start with this guy. He's going to go there. Let's move him to the back. Right to the back. Raffin is actually going to shift while these guys move in. Him to the back. And so moves 30 feet to there. And then we'll move there. Back. Okay. 30 feet to there. And then another 20 or 10 there. And this guy is basically looking for an opening. Let's do some attack rolls. Starting with Marizan. Okay, Marizan is going to attack number 3. These guys are on the ground this time. So ECV 5, she's OCV 11, so that's going to be on the +6 line. With she's the only one attacking it. So that's going to be -14 to her roll. That's going to be a 5 on the +6 line. A severe. And she does 10 plus 10 on a severe hit. Going to be 18 points. And that's a number 3. So -18 for Marizan with their broadsword. He's dead, he's dead. Right, Splooch, he's gone. Raffin, he is going to attack number 8. Raffin. He is best sword. He's subtracting 12. And again, he's on the +6 line as well. Well, so that's going to be 12. The 24 less 12 is 12. Another severe hit. And he is doing a d10 plus 9. Yeah, so he does a total of 15 to number 8. So he is at 3. Not quite. That is that round. Well, that for our guys. All the hippogriffs now attack. So, let's start with the one on Marizan. One on Marizan has -7 to his roll. He is on the -6 line. Sorry, +7 to his roll, 6 line. +7 would be a miss. Very similar with Raffin. He's got 2 on him. They've got +5 for the 2 attacking Raffin. So that's only going to be, double check Raffin's skill here. Oh, shield skill 3 and 2, so actually net 0. -6 line. First guy is going to be a 73, that's a miss. Second guy, 38, is going to be just exactly a shield hit. And they would need to do 7 points of damage to damage a shield. They are doing d6. Basically not going to do anything. 1 point pings off a shield. Oh, and this actually thing I forgot to mention is I'm assuming that our group of travelers here did see the griffins off in the distance flying around doing their hunting. They quickly got off their horses, found a safe place to shelter, had the 2 cavalry guys basically take care of the horses, and they headed out on foot after swapping their armor around and everything to engage with the hippogriffs. They had a bit of prep time. Probably should have mentioned that at the very beginning, but totally forgot about it. So, anyways, so Raffin has a now the 2 on Lendrin, jeez, I keep saying that. The 2 on Gildor. Okay, Gildor. You're casting, so you don't have your shield out. No modifiers, they are at -5. His DCV is 8. They're on the -3 line. No modifier. So the first one, actually -5 to the rolls, because the 2 of them. 32 is going to be a hit. Have a shield out. And 98 is going to be a miss. D6 takes 5 points. Less armor. Wearing banded, so -2. So his armor takes 1, and he takes 3. Phase 3. Mana location. Lendrin is going to see if he can get a spell off before they attack. I'm thinking he's going to go with his trusty Smokeless Flame. He can gather 5 mana. It is a base mana cost 4 spell. He uses the language, he can get it off at EL1. Otherwise, he'll get it off at EL0. The language that he's using on this is his Tongue of the Giant, 60% chance. $31 works. So he's casting at EL1. No, Smokeless Flame. Oh, sorry. He's got effective EL of 5. Casting speed. EL 5. EL 5. Gathering 5. That's right. He's going to try casting at EL1. So he needs the 5 mana. And he is subtracting. They don't really describe this in the rules, but he's got an effective EL of 5 at this point in the spell. So in theory, he'd be subtracting 2 times the EL from his roll to succeed. He is only going to cast EL1. Some may argue that because he's casting at a lower level, it should only be 2 subtracted from his roll instead of 10. I'm saying that because of his expertise in the spell itself, he's more effective with it. He's just choosing to have less. He's more proficient in casting the spell, but he's casting it as slightly less effect. And let's see if it works. So he's minus 10 plus 3, so minus 7 to his roll. 5 line. And that's going to be a 49-ish? Yeah, 48. Ooh. So the spell works. And the illustrious Smokeless Flame, I should already know what it does, is going to do, and he's casting it at number 9. 3d10 plus 4, EL times 1, or EL1 times 4, so 3d10 plus 4. So 9, 12, 14, 18. And that is going to be enough to kill number 9. 18. Excellent. Was Smokeless Flame. Oh, that's right. This guy shouldn't have attacked Marizan. Anyways, he missed. So keep forgetting. Yeah, number 5. Number 5 was stunned. Well, and Kina, her spell goes off. What are you doing again? We're doing that ball fire. It deals 0. This might be something. Ball fire has a range of EL plus 1, so 1 times 2, so 20 feet. Let's see. 20 feet. If she puts the effect of the ball there, it has an area of 10 feet. Circle is 10, roughly 10. So that can affect both of these guys, not affect Marizan. Cool. That's what she's doing, and it can do basically a D10 damage. Well, that's not too bad. If it works. It's basically 1 roll for the spell, and the MDVs of each creature affected by it are applied separately. They're both MDV 3, so if it works on one, it'll work on both. So she's adding 3 to her roll, subtracting nothing for her EL. on the 3 line. +3. That's going to be a 42, so that actually works. So they each take a die 10. That is number 2 and number 5. Are we supposed to roll separately, or do they both take the same? I'm going to roll separately. So, starting with number 2, he takes 7 points. And number 5 takes 3 points. Great. Let's get rid of our pointers. And movement and melee. So this guy is stunned for 1 more round. So this guy will move in. And is that it, everybody? Didn't miss anybody anywhere? Nope. All right. Starting Marizanne. Since this guy is stunned, she's going to attack number 2. And she is subtracting 14 from her roll. Broadsword. On the +6 line. Oh, that's going to be a deadly. On number 2 has 7 points of damage. Not exactly what you wanted, but I guess you'll take it. 3d10 plus 12. 10, 27. Going to be enough to damage her weapon. And this creature only has 11, 14 left. 18 minus 7, 11 plus 3. 18. Marizanne with. And this guy's. By number 2. And Raffin. Raffin, you are swinging at number 8, number 7. 7. So you're swinging at 8. He has 3 hit points left. (24) less 12, so another 12 on the +6 line. Very certain that's going to be another severe. Yep, here. And the d10 plus 9 on a severe hit. So 13 points. He only has 7 left. Raffin with. Cool. Another one down. Okay, and oh, she was actually supposed to cast down here. Oh well, anyways. Just help Gildor out, not Marizanne. I totally forgot. Well, let's see. So, these guys attack. Let's start with the 2 on Gildor, with -5 to their rolls on the -3 line, I believe. Gildor, DC 8. Yeah, -3 line. -5. -3 line with -5, that's going to be hit. Doing 3 points or 2 points damage, which bounces off his armor. And another -5. 20. That's another hit. And 3 points of damage. Onto the armor. Okay. And the one on Marizanne is still stunned. It's not stunned next phase. It'll be able to attack unless it's dead. And number 7 attacks Raffin. 13, wow. On the -6 line with +0 to his roll. 13 on the -6 line. We just regular hit. That's 3 points. Raffin has the heavy-duty armor, I believe, chainmail. No, plate mail, so it's 4. So that bounces off his plate. Right, and phase 4. Phase 4. Marizan. He's gonna shift down there. And she is going to attack number 1. And she has a minus. Lendrin. Lendrin is casting a spell on number 9. Where's number 9? Number 9's dead. Oops, alright. Number 9 got a free attack on Lendrin though. Got to wipe them out. Lendrin is going to... he's going to do a spell. So before she moves, Lendrin is doing another smoke. He's doing his language. Seeds. Cast a spell. 7, that's going to succeed. Smokeless Flame. What did I say? D10 plus 3d10 plus 4? 3d10 plus 4. For 1. 8 and 8, 16, 20. Minus 20. 100 plus 4. Number 1. Dead. Get rid of him this time. Right. Tarzan swings at number 5. With a minus. Oh, what did Kina do? Yeah, going to move up and help attack. So he has a minus 8 and minus 19. Plus 6 line. 62, 80. Nope. So that's going to be a miss. Wow. Kina is using a sword, which is type priority 9. Same as these guys. She actually does get to go first. Her sword is EL2, so she is subtracting 7 total. So 45 is on the OCV 9 plus 4 line. That's going to be a hit. And on a hit, he's doing a d6 plus 2. 8 points, wow. What did I say? Number 5. 8 points. What is that? 8, 11, 15. Still up. Raffin on number 7. 33, that's going to be a regular hit. Raffin is doing regular hit. Raffin is doing d6 plus 5. Ooh, 6, 11. Cool. All right. And these guys attack. So a guy on Raffin with a -5 or +5 to his roll. 28 on the plus or the -6 line. 28 is going to be a shield hit. Already got a shield hit. We know that these guys can't damage him. Against Mirzan with a +7, I think it was. 670 something. That's going to be a total miss. And finally, phase 1. I think everybody's going to be swinging with swords and whatnot this round, or this time around. And I have a feeling these things could be dead after this round, or this phase. Starting with Mirzan. Be a regular hit. He is doing 6 + 6. 7 points. To number 5. It has, what did I say? 2, 5 left. 5. Mirzan with the broadsword. Number 5 is dead. Just because we can. Nina does get her free swing at this thing before it's obliterated. And she, that 11 -7 is going to be a 4 on the +4 line, if I remember. 4, so that's going to be severe. Well, that's not bad. Guess she can get a few points in. 10 + 3, 10 points. And it only had 5 left, so she gets 5 as well. Nina with her. Ooh. Alright. Raffin, you are -12, -17. You get a deadly-in, just not what you want. 3d10 + 11. Ouch. 10, 24, 35. 35, that's actually double. 35, so he's got a... Don't tell me he's going to break it again. Nope, doesn't break. Cool. And more than enough to obliterate number 7. Because it only had... What's that? 7, 3, 10? But Lendrin does... Lendrin, jeez, Gildor. Gildor does get his swing in with his scimitar, or his... his scimitar with -6, 8, and 5, so 13. -10. D10 + 5. 5, 10. Not so bad, and doesn't damage his weapon. And that's exactly Gildor. Alright. So all of our hippogriffs are dead. They've wiped out the nest or the lair of the hippogriffs. That was a little better than expected. So they are on their way that day. I'm going to say that that is their encounter for the day as well. Okay, I'll figure out all their experience and everything else offline. You me do that before, and I don't think you need to see it again. I will provide an update in the next session, kind of what they all got out of it. Alright, so this day we did the weather, did the mana, did the movement, started doing the movement. We found a Hippogriff layer in this first hex, which we've wiped out in the next hex. A prominent feature that they find going to be geologic. Logic feature is going to be a dice 6. One more caves, but caves, I guess. So they're not going to explore that, but I will make a note of it on the map. Let's stick a pin in that. All right, caves. And we want that here, just in case we ever come back to it someday. Or perhaps something else happens that makes them come back there. Next hex. 20 roll. 7, resource. All right, what do we have for resource? Rather than flipping through the book forever, let's find out what page resources are on. Page 35. Go and put tabs in this book. Okay, resource is going to be a 20 roll. 3, animal game. And we are in the plains. This is a D10 roll. Guess it's a D12 roll. All right. All right, let's throw a D12 and see what we get. We got a 9. That is gross. I don't think they're going to do any hunting here at this point, and I don't think that's probably worth marking on the map either. And at the end of the day, they get to that final hex, and we have a 18 magic. That's going to be magic is 4. Magic features are broken into several categories, but they all share several broad traits. Unless otherwise stated, magic features cannot be dispelled by anything short of a wish or divine intervention. Unless otherwise stated, the effects of magical features always occur. The zone where spells have a range increased by 25% always increases their range by 10%. Magic effects. It is going to affect 30 D4 plus 1 subhexes. Get our D4 affecting 3. That's affecting 4 subhexes. That off to the side. 1 in 2 chance that when subject of a magic effect subjects of a magic effect leave the area the effect ends. Magic effect. Affect the 64 ley lines. What does ley line do for us? Ley lines either pass through the hex 1 to 5 or terminate in the hex 6. Pass through the hex. If the ley line terminates, no, it doesn't. If it passes through the hex, there is a 1 in 100 chance that another ley line crosses it, forming an exit. Nope. If the nexus does exist, space and time. Space and time work differently. These areas. Those entering the area 1 to 4 get no saving throw. Let's see. Those entering the area 1 to 4 get no saving throw to avoid the effect, or 5 to 6 they save versus spells to avoid the effect. Also, it is also possible to purposefully fail the saving throw should the character desire to be affected. Magic effects 1 to 7 space, 8 to travel, or 12 time. One benefit here is that Gildor can actually sense mana. And I think he's going to warn the group before they actually enter this area. And they will avoid the ley line. They will avoid the potential good or bad things that can go on here. They basically are somewhat risk adverse in this instance because the magic can be so powerful and deadly in this game. So they will skip that. But I'll make a note that there's a ley line in this hex that passes through this hex. Put that on the map, and we'll avoid it and deal with that some other day. Maybe that'll come into play with some other future adventure. Might do a bit more research on the ley lines and all the different effects and work that into something in the future. Okay, that will be that day. That night, counter. 61, no encounter. And the next day. So, previous day, skill gains, horsemanship, plain survival and carrying. They did their knowledge spells. They will get experience and expertise for the combat that they had yesterday. And they'll use up all their food and whatever they need. Mana regen. Let's see. Mana regen. Gildor gets 6 mana back on himself and 5 mana back on the mana storage device. And 5, and Ina gets 4 and 3. We'll update those. And they travel on the 15th, and they will make it to Crystal Shores kind of mid to late afternoon. So that first hex they travel into. We'll have a 7, a resource. Resources are page 35. Resource is vegetable agricultural. What do they find in the way of veggies? Vegetable agricultural. Cultivated 1 to 4 grain, 5 to 7 vegetable, 8 to 9 fruit, and 10 nuts and spices. It. Yes. A big field of. Let's go with the red one. 4. Grain. Big field of. Sorghum. What the heck is sorghum? The computer advice wasn't very helpful. Tall green leafy stalk that's similar to corn. Add that into of and someday I might figure out what the hell that is. Or why it's of significance to these. last but not least, the farmers had something out there further from Crystal Shores back in the day when the larger center, an old farmstead or old town or village that's somewhere in the vicinity. Right, and the last one before we get in is a 17. Is water. Water. Water, 58. Brook, creek, stream, or river. 56 is going to be a creek. They come across a creek. So they refresh their water. There's a lot of creeks and streams and stuff basically strewn across these lands because of the mountains in the vicinity. That I'm not going to mark in on the maps. But at the end of that day, they make it into Crystal Shores. The Crystal Shores map that I've got here is this one. And this is the town of Haven that I've used for Crystal Shores. I will put a link down below as to who actually created this map, because I don't see any reference to who the creator of it is on the map itself. But we'll pick up next episode with the adventurers making their way into town, speaking with the council and finding out more about these lizard folk that are kicking around. So thanks for joining me. Hopefully you're still finding this interesting. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them down in the comments. And as usual, like, subscribe, hit the ringer thingy. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.